All right, we're very blessed today to have Cesar Barta. His presentation is going to be called The Sudarium of Oviedo and the Coincidences with the Shroud. Cesar Barta has developed his professional activity in the nuclear and electronic fields. At the final period, he worked as a test engineer in the space science for more than 25 years. He devoted his free time to the research and dissemination on the Holy Shroud and has taught courses and attended conferences both in Spain and in other countries in Europe, and obviously here in the United States and America. He studiously collaborated with national and international specialized magazines. He has been involved with the Shroud research following the 1988 carbon dating, and he is a member of the Centro Español de Sidereología, or better, CES. I probably should have just went to the very end, so I apologize. Can't tell I'm a dumb American, can you? All right, so I would like to introduce to you Cesar Barta.
Bueno. I think you can hear me well, no? Okay, I'm Cesar Barta, I'm physicist, and I am a member of the Society of Catholic Scientific Spanish Section, and I am also a member of the Centro Español de Sidereología in Spanish. Okay. This is a brief talk about the Sudarium of Oviedo, because there will be completed by Pedro Peinado in this same room at 10 o'clock, and on Saturday at 4 o'clock in the St. Peter room. It will be also completed by Jorge Manuel Rodriguez today at 3 o'clock in the St. Peter room. But in any case, if you want to know more about this cloth, the current Bible in English about the Sudarium of Oviedo is my book. Then you can buy here in this conference. The first thing to clarify is we are in a conference about the Shroud, but we are speaking about the Sudarium of Oviedo. And the first thing to clarify is that the Sudarium of Oviedo is not another shroud as the Shroud of Turin. With this artistic representation, we can see what can be seen in the Friday of the Crucifixion. The body was wrapped in a shroud. And 3 days later, the Gospel associated with St. John described that when Simon Peter arrived after him, he went into the tomb and saw the burial cloth, in original Greek, Othonia. That means the shroud. Then he saw the shroud there, and the cloth, in original Greek, Sudarium, and the Sudarium that covered his head, not with the burial cloth, but roll up in a separate place. Then the Sudarium was removed from the head and placed near the body. We are talking about this Sudarium. This is a first sight about the Sudarium. It's a cloth with the size of a towel, wrinkled and stained. And this is, I am talking about how the Sudarium was used, the sequence between the death and the burial, and some correspondences with the shroud. Now start with how it we use. The Sudarium of Oviedo was placed around the head of the corpse that died in an upright position. This is the, in a few minutes, you know what is the result of many years of forensic research. But this is the conclusion. The Sudarium of Oviedo was placed around the head of a corpse that died in an upright position. Now we can see how this Sudarium was placed around the head. Well, here is difficult, but maybe you see the laser. Here, an edge of the Sudarium was placed, where is here, was placed, or maybe with this, well, is placed on the nape of the, and the rest of the Sudarium pass over the left ear and cover the face with a first layer. Before to reaching the right ear, the Sudarium was folded back to cover with a second layer the face. Then 2 layers over the face. 2 layers over the face. But the best way to understand how the Sudarium was used is to see this simulation, and I need the help of the technician to put the, maybe, okay, it's work. The Sudarium, an edge of the Sudarium was stitched at a lock of hair at the nape of the neck. The Sudarium was stitched to the hair. The rest of the Sudarium passed over the left ear and covered the face with a first layer, and before to cover the right ear, it was folded back to cover the face with a second layer, 2 layers over the face. This is important to understand what we see on the Sudarium. Okay. And now, where is each part of the head when the Sudarium is deployed? An edge, it corresponds to the nape, and about the middle of the Sudarium corresponds to the face. This is the first side. Here, and in an edge is the nape, and about the middle is the face. The stains of blood that correspond to the nape and the face. But as the Sudarium was folded, there are another main almost symmetrical stain that correspond also to the face. Now we start to understand the Sudarium, and this is the first matching of the face of the shroud with the stains of the Sudarium. This part, well, this part corresponds to, how can I maybe this, yeah, you see this, no? Okay, this part corresponds to the forehead, and this part corresponds to the mouth. Okay? Another way to understand the correspondence between the stains of the Sudarium and the face and the nape. As the Sudarium was folded, the other part corresponds also to the face. Still another way to understand how this was used, the Sudarium was folded and placed over a face that was stained with blood in forehead and the nose and mouth. And this is the way the Sudarium could be seen when it was around the head. Well, now this part is information that only the Sudarium provides. Neither the Shroud nor the Gospel provide this information. It's the sequence between the death and the burial sequence. Well, the Sudarium does not provide the time of the day when this sequence starts. I choose at random 3 o'clock. Jesus Christ dies on the cross. This reconstruction is an approach. The true sequence can change, but the true sequence must be very similar to this. Only the accuracy of the time and detail of the event can change. But you will see something that is difficult to know from another source of information other than the Sudarium. About half an hour later, blood flows slowly from the nose and mouth. And a 3:45, somebody removed the crown of thorns. About 4 o'clock, someone stitched the Sudarium on the lock of hair at the nape. That means that the intended use of the Sudarium was not for a brief moment. It must be for a lasting time, a lasting use. They place the Sudarium on the left side and 2 layers in front of the face. And the corpse remains this way about an hour. An hour later, some take him down from the cross and lift him face down. Face down. Maybe with the patibulum still nailed. The event or the situation we can support is that the arms were in cross position. This assumption is because the flow of blood through the mouth was still slow. If arms were folded in this moment, a source of blood, fast source of blood will happen, and this not is the fact that we observe on the Sudarium. In any case, this position is the only way to justify the stain on the forehead. It must be in this position, and it implies that it must be under the Roman responsibility. The Jews never place a corpse face down. Then maybe, or at almost sure, in this moment, the corpse was still under the Roman responsibility, and probably the way to it was put maybe was an deliberate offense to Jews. About an hour later, the body was delivered to the Jews. Then, with the permission of the Roman authority. Then, the Jews placed the corpse face up on his back, and the arms were folded. And this, the fact that the arms were folding originate that the source of blood through the mouth was important, and maybe it justified the stain at the nape of the neck. They put on his back to transport him. At this moment, the two layers over the face were no longer necessary. Then they deployed the second layer, and the entire head was covered with the Sudarium, with a knot at the top. And a few minutes later, already inside the sepulchre, they removed the Sudarium, which is then sprinkled with aromas. The Sudarium was removed because the aromas are in the surface, imbibed in the surface where the blood was in contact with the face. The surface that was in contact with the face have aromas imbibed in them. Then that implied that this surface was no longer covering the face. Then the Sudarium was removed before to bury the corpse. Okay. And then they cover the corpse with the shroud. He is provisionally covered with the shroud until Saturday passed by, but we think provisionally. And 3 days later, the first day of the week, only the shroud and the Sudarium remain. Maybe we can understand now better the Gospel of John, the Gospel associated with St. John, that say that Simon Peter arrived after him. He went into the tomb and saw the shroud there and the Sudarium that had covered his head, not with the burial cloth, but rolled up in a separate place. Well, this is the end of the sequence that only the Sudarium of Oviedo provides. neither the Shroud nor the Gospel describe the sequence between the death and the burial. I am talking about some correspondences with the Shroud, because there are many others. Comparison of the Sudarium of Oviedo with the Shroud of Turin. I use the image of the face, of the head, because it's the only part of the body that both cloth, Sudarium and Shroud, could cover in common. I will describe three correspondences, but Pedro Peinado, in this room later and on Saturday, will describe another correspondence. I will talking about the dust on the nose, the ponytail, and the side hair lock. Start with the dust on the nose. X-ray fluorescence data from the Sudarium was recorded, and about for 57. Well, this technique allows us to identify chemical element and in some way the relative quantity among them. In the Sudarium were recorded 57 data from a spot in bloodish area and from clean area. And we found that there were 3 points close near the tip of the nose that present an estes of dust. In these 3 points, close near the tip of the nose, we found an estes of dust. But in 1978, the STARP found at exactly the same place, close to the tip of the nose, an estes of dust. The STARP found an estes of dust at the feet level, that it is logical, but they found an estes in the nose. It can be justified because the man fell face first. The ponytail. What is the ponytail? The image of the shroud allows us to figure out that the man have a ponytail on his back, along the back, that can be somebody call it the ponytail. Can be an braid hair. But for me, it's difficult to accept that after beaten, scourged, and crown of thorn, the man remained still with the hair arranged. Somebody say that it was an hairstyle of the Nazarenes, but it's difficult to accept that it remained with the hair arranged. I think I have a better explanation. As we saw, the Sudarium was stitched to a lot of hair at the neck, at the nape of the neck. Below the group of a small stain that corresponds to the crown of thorn, there are also an stain with the shape of a butterfly wings. this data lead us to assume that a lot of hair was tied for some time in the case of the Sudarium of Oviedo. A bunch of cotton stained with blood and covered with a shroud, with a cloth, show a very similar stain as in the case of the Sudarium of Oviedo in the low in the nape of the neck. Then the Sudarium of Oviedo was stitched with to his back strand and left it compact for some time. The ponytail of the man of the Shroud of Turin will be caused by the Sudarium of Oviedo. This hypothesis was analyzed when a group of small stains corresponding to the crown of thorn matched each other. The row of hole or needle hole, the stitch in the Sudarium delimit a strand of hair that correspond to the ponytail. I verified the hypothesis with one of my daughters. I told her, don't wash your hair and let me to stitch a strand for some time, as in the case of the Sudarium of Oviedo. And when I remove the cloth, I found that a hair remains compacted. Well, and to finish with the side hair lock. The 3D image of the shroud show that the hair of the side cover the ear and reach the shoulder, and the volumetric representation of the shroud, the man of the shroud, also show that the hair cover the ear against the gravity load. Because if a man with long hair remain fade up on his back, the hair fall, and let us see the ear. But what happened in the case of the Jesus Christ and in the case of the man of the Sudarium of Oviedo? The Gospel say that when Jesus Christ died, till had his hair. Then the side lock trend to fall forward. And if a Sudarium like that of the Oviedo is placed around the head for some time, for 2 hours, this has an effect of fixation. They fix the hair in this position, and when the Sudarium is removed, the hair remains as in the previous position. This hypothesis was verified with a volunteer. We asked him to allow extract some blood of him, and we put some drop of blood under his hair, simulating the crown of thorn. Then we put some dust, sand of the desert, simulating the dust of the road, and let pass some time, and we put a Sudarium around his head. We asked him to tilt his head as it was died, and put the Sudarium around his head. Then we let pass some time and put the volunteer face up with on his back, and then we remove the Sudarium. What we did find? What did we find? The side hair covering the ear and reach the shoulder, as in the case of the man of the shroud. Then the hypothesis was verified. This is some conclusion. Shroud and Sudarium show an excess of dust near the tip of the nose. That is some strange, some astonished. Shroud and Sudarium indicate the presence of a kind of ponytail. And the last thing I saw, the horizontality of the side hair lot of the man of the Holy Shroud is explained by the use of a Sudarium like the one in Oviedo. Sorry because my poor English, and many thanks.
Questions?
Do you have other examples where someone was crucified and a similar process with the cloth on the face? Is there any similarities?
Other examples. Well, in addition to the volunteer you see, I also make the experience with the other of my daughter. But in this case, she removed the hair with her hand because the hair disturbed her, no, during the experience. But in the case of the Jesus Christ, it was not possible. Right. Then, and in the case of my daughter, we found a group of stains at the neck, similar, not exactly the same, but in the globally the same distribution as in the case of the Sudarium, but only 2 experiences, no more.
So you don't have other historical examples of the floor?
Other store. No, as I know, the Sudarium of Oviedo is the only historic cloth that remained, being covering head, of course. Okay?
It's not a big deal, but the evidence on the Sudarium, can that help us identify whether it was applied to him while he was on the cross or after he was brought to the ground horizontally? Does the evidence tell us that?
Well,
Whether it was
sorry, because I don't understand you, but I can help.
Si tenemos evidencia de en qué momento pusieron el sudario, si cuando estaba todavía en la cruz o cuando ya lo habían bajado de la cruz.
Okay. What is the evidence that the Sudarium was placed when the corpse was right upper side, upright? The research, the forensic research of the stain indicate that the blood fall following the gravity law. Then from the nose and mouth, the a mix of blood and serum flow below, then to the chin. Then it must be upright. Then the Sudarium was placed around the head when supposedly Jesus Christ stay still on the cross. But the rate of the flow allow us to conclude that there was placed in the other way, face down, because the same flow that go down in the cross must be face down for allowing this flow reach the forehead.
Go on the cross.
Sorry.
Cesar, first of all, thank you for the presentation. It's very thorough. I know that the Spain Center for Synthenology has done a lot of work in this area, connecting the two. My question was first very similar to this, I wanted to make sure that the Sudarium was placed when he was up on the cross. But I want to confirm the belief, la creencia judía, the Jewish belief, that the blood carried the soul, el alma, in the blood, in la sangre, and therefore it was critical for the Sudarium to be placed on the cross.
Because I forgot during the presentation mention that in the Jewish culture, the blood of a corpse must be buried with the body. This is your question, no?
Yeah, the blood had
and
to be
this is the reason, this justifies why the friends or relative or the man thought how to prevent that the blood fall in ground. This is maybe the reason why the Sudarium was placed around the head to recover the blood and then put this blood in the sepulchre.
So then, just to then clarify, so then they take him to the sepulchrum, to the tomb, they take the Sudarium off and they put it on the side, and then they cover it with the shroud.
Yes, yes. I say that the Sudarium was removed before to cover with the shroud, and why we think the Sudarium was removed? Because the aromas are in the surface, embedded in the blood, where this surface was covering the face. Then, to allow the aromas reach this surface, the Sudarium had been removed. Okay? Two questions there.
Good question. I understand that the Sudarium dates to around 700 AD, carbon-14 dating. Is there any plans to do the wide-angle X-ray scattering dating with the Sudarium?
Sorry.
Sí, dice que con el carbono 14 dio la datación de 700 años y ha pensado de seguir el otro sistema para la datación del Sudarium.
Well, about the dating of the Sudarium, I will mention something on Saturday. Okay.
Based on the blood flow, is it at all possible that they would have placed the Sudarium over his head, upright, and then put him up on the cross? much like an execution where they cover the head before somebody is executed? Would he have been alive when they placed the Sudarium? Is it possible?
Hicieron el sudario cuando todavía estaba vivo, como si fuera una práctica de crucifixión o cuando ya estaba muerto.
The question is if the Sudarium was placed when the man was alive. No. It's not the result of the forensic research is that the blood flowing from nose and mouth imply that the man is dying.
Just a question related to his, but just a broader question. The shroud is, you want the shroud to be tested further, of course. Is the Sudarium, is it available or can it be accessed for further testing? Is that possible? Can we get to it to test it? Is it available for further testing? When will it be tested? When can it be tested?
Experimentos, si es posible hacer experimentos sobre el sudario.
Well, experiment on the Sudarium. Okay, this is the question, no? Experiment on the Sudarium. Almost 20 years ago, there was a research studying the stain and under the microscope and with several kind of light, ultraviolet, infrared, and then it was dated by carbon 14. Then there had been research experiment with the Sudarium. At this moment, the priority is the conservation. The conservation is good. Conservation and the charge authority that give priority to not touch much more. No. Then the new research is limited. Okay.
The relatives would have put the Sudarium on the person, not the Romans. It was the family that would have done this.
I think was the relative or friends of the man, but it's not evidence that they would.
And I'm just
why I think this, because the use custom or the relief was not to allow the blood fall.
But then it follows through that the depictions we have of the cross with people going up with ladders is false, because there was only a couple of ladies there. They wouldn't have been clambering up 20 feet to put you know.
Okay.
So,
the height of the cross is outside my expertise.
I'm just deducting from it.
I don't.
John was there.
Where the moderator who as who.
Yeah, you still have a little time if that's what you're asking.
So, in your view, what would be the single strongest evidence that connects the Sudarium of Oviedo to the Shroud of Turin?
The strongest evidence. Well, I will say the strongest clue. The evidence is too strong, no? But the correspondence between the stain of the crown of thorn that Pedro Peinado are talking in 2 hours is one of the most strong. And another, I think, is also a good clue that the excess of dust near the tip of the nose is very strange, is unexpected, that found an excess of dust near the tip of the nose. Maybe there are other, but well, my talk is limited, and I let other speaker to develop the correspondences.
So there's a great deal of blood in the area of the mouth and the nose and the nostrils. But above that, on the Sudarium, there seem to be large areas without blood. If the crown of thorns is truly a cap, a helmet that have wounded our Lord all over, why don't we see evidence of blood in that area on the Sudarium that covered that top of the head?
If I understand well, you asked about the bone of the crown of thorns. It must be all around the head, no? But think that the bone is under the hair, and the gravity law make the blood fall. Then in this part of the neck is the way where the flow of blood go outside, and in this part of the head, the upper part, the Sudarium was not fastened as in the around the ear. Then the transfer of stain could be lower.
And the blood from the nose and mouth is post-mortem pulmonary fluid coming out, not trauma.
Que la sangre que salió era post-mortem, no era como...
Yes. Yes, there are two different observations about the blood in the Sudarium. The group of small stain at the neck look as blood that exit when the man was alive. But in the case of the nose and mouth, the man must be a corpse, okay?
I think you probably mentioned this earlier. I'm sorry I came in a little bit late, but another reason why the correspondence between the Sudarium and the Shroud is so amazing with respect to the blood is that it's AB blood type for both the Sudarium as well as the Shroud, right? Although AB, I guess, is somewhat common in the Middle East, it's still a pretty amazing coincidence.
Yes, the AB type of the blood, no? Yeah. In the case of the Shroud and in the case of the Sudarium. In the case of the Sudarium, the test was very exhaustive, with several tests, not only one, and it was also with a positive result on the blood and negative result on the clean part of the Sudarium. But you know that the AB type of the blood is a matter of discussion. Well, there.
Yeah, you gave a time of 3 o'clock that he dies, and then 3:45 they removed the crown of thorns, and then 4 o'clock they put the Sudarium on. Wouldn't they have put the Sudarium on immediately after he died?
Well, immediately, I don't know. These are approximative, not accurate times. Then between the removing of the crown of thorn and the placing of the Sudarium pass some minutes. I say 15 minutes, but it can be less, more. It's not an accurate time. Then before to place the Sudarium, the crown of thorn must be removed. But once the crown was removed, I don't know how much time they've used to find a cloth, appropriate color.
The Jews would have been very concerned about keeping the blood with him, and so I think, to me, they would have wrapped his head very soon after he died.
Los judíos eran muy sensibles para conservar la sangre, entonces probablemente lo habrían puesto sudario antes.
No, it is possible that instead of 15 minutes was 5 minutes. It's not contrary to the sequence. It's possible.
And his point was, he was face down because the Romans took him down. The Jews would not put him face down, so the Sudarium wouldn't have been put on until the Romans had given him over to the Jews face down.
It was up at the
So
top.
the Jews were not allowed to be.
On the top.
No entenderían si lo habían puesto antes de que estuviera herido.
The Sudarium was placed around the head when the corpse was upright.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then he was taken down. I see.
Before to place the straight down.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think, at this conference would like to see more testing done on the shroud itself, scientific testing. What would you like to see done on the Sudarium that could help verify its authenticity? What scientific tests should be done?
The scientific tests are on the Sudarium.
Yeah.
But I say that it was illuminated with visible light, infrared light, ultraviolet light, and they took samples of blood. There are EDN, no? EDN or DNA analysis, and there are the late José Delfín Villalain, the Spanish forensic medical forensic, test 3,000 stains to simulate the feature, the way we see the stain on the Sudarium. Then the forensic research was very exhaustive, very intense. And there are also the X-ray fluorescence analysis, and then there was many scientific tests.
Are there any other ones that you would want to see done? Any new ones?
New ones. But as I think new one is difficult to ask for them, because the charged authorities will give priority to the conservation. This now the Sudarium is inside a container with a neutral atmosphere. Then it's difficult to allow permission to remove.
Suppose you could get permission. What would you do? Would you do anything now?
No, I don't think so. Because it's a possibility far of today, then I have to think about, but in the future. Okay, well, the last question, no?
Can you tell us who has custody and control of the Sudarium, and who would have to approve any further testing? That would be proposed.
Para conservación, ¿no?
¿Quién es el que tiene la autoridad para que se hagan o no más estudios?
Well, the authority in the Cathedral of Oviedo are the owner of the Sudarium. Then every test we will propose must have the permission of the authority in the Cathedral of Oviedo. Okay, well, it's time.
Let's give him another round of applause. I got done a little early with my presentation, so you guys put him under the watch glass pretty good. So, couple of things on the Sudarium, which I've always found interesting, is the history. The history with it, we have some small t tradition that has us connecting it very early with Peter, bringing it into Rome. And then there's other small t that we get with Eusebius of Caesarea describing the fact that there's some connections to St. Lawrence when he comes in with the idea of the poor. That remember when he's about to die, they ask him to bring in the treasures of the church, and he brings the poor to them. At that same time, they were getting some of the treasures of the church out of there, and that's when the Sudarium of Oviedo, starts to make its trek towards Spain at that point. All right. You ready? Whenever. It's supposed to start about.
Do you want to wait?
I'm going to give everybody a break for just a minute, but I would like to speak to you for a moment. Let's take about a 10-minute break, and we will be hearing from David Keyes here in just a few minutes. Go to the bathroom, take care of. Go ahead. The schedule did change. There was a flip between John Jackson and David Keyes. So that I apologize about that. So there was some
Not to disappoint you.
Yeah, not to.
I'm not John Jackson.
No, no doubt. So, but anyway, let's take about 10 minutes and we'll be back. How you doing? I'm quiet. I got you. Let's see, I can't put your name. I don't think David Keyes. Am I saying that right? And then denying, doubting, believing, knowing, and we know the identity of the man on trial. All right, and I do have a 5.